Hey guys, welcome to Through the Bible Verse by Verse, a plain and simple study of the entire Bible, verse by verse, chapter by chapter, and book by book. We are currently in Genesis chapter 46. Joseph has revealed himself to his brothers, that he is the long lost brothers they sold into Egypt. Shock, shock, shock. Also, the fulfillment of his dream, which they were angry at. Remember, they hated him because of the dream that they would bow to him. He was 17 years old when he gave them that dream, and now that has come to pass. Now Israel is getting ready to settle into Egypt. They are just 2 years into the 7-year famine that God had gave Pharaoh the dream of, that Joseph interpreted, that propelled him into the leadership. And so what's going on too, along with Joseph finding out that his father is still alive, finding out that his younger brother is doing well, and then being reunited with his family, the famine is still growing worse, and we'll get to that later. But now Joseph, having been told, hey, Joseph is alive, he's told us to come to Egypt, he's going to take care of us. They won't have to buy food, and they're going to have the best plan. But let's get into it. So Genesis chapter 46, and remember, Joseph had sent a whole entourage of camels, and he sent the whole. Arriving at Joseph's camp would be like today if all of a sudden limousines, right? Diplomatic limousines showed up at your house, and your relative says, hey, come live with us. Everything is going to be just great from here out, right? All right, so he says, Israel set out with all that he had, and he came to Beersheba, and he offered sacrifice to God of his father Isaac. That night, God spoke to Israel in a vision. Jacob, he said. Jacob, Jacob, he said. Now remember too, when you hear something twice, it's decreed. In this case, it's decreed that God himself is speaking to him. And Jacob replied, here am I. And God said, I am the God of your fathers. Do not be afraid to go down to Egypt, for I will make you into a great nation there. I will go down with you to Egypt, and I will also bring you back. Joseph will put his hands on your eyes. So this is even now supernatural confirmation that Joseph is alive, that God is saying, hey, Joseph will put his hands upon you. It also is confirmation that God's hand has been in this all along. Verse 5, Jacob left Beersheba. The sons of Israel took their father Jacob in the wagons Pharaoh had sent to carry him, along with their children and all their wives. They also took their cattle and possessions they had acquired in the land of Canaan. Then Jacob and all of his children went with him to Egypt, his sons and his grandsons, his daughters and granddaughters, indeed all his offsprings he brought with him into Egypt. Now these are the names of the Israelites, Jacob and his sons, who went to Egypt. Now we'll have this list when we get over into Egypt. This is because the reason why he's given this list, from this list is going to grow by the time we get to Moses to somewhere around anywhere, I don't know, from 1 million, 2 million that will come out of Egypt, possibly. Maybe 3 million. But anyway, so then it says, Jacob's firstborn, Reuben, Reuben's son, Hanok, Palo, Hezron, and Carmi. And by the way, I'm not even pretending to pronounce these Hebrew names correctly. Simon's sons were Jermain, Ohad, Jachem, Zohar, and Shaul, the son of a Canaanite woman. Levi, sons, Gershon, Kohath, and Merari. Judah's son, Onan, Shelah. Now it's kind of interesting that he's kind of listing and Onan in here, because remember they died. So Shelah, and then Perez, and Zerah. But and Onan died in the land of Canaan. Perez's sons, Hezron and Hamuel. Issachar's sons, Tola, Povah, Jashub, and Shimron. Zebulun's sons, Sered, Elon, and Jaleel. These were Leah's sons born to Jacob in Padan Aram, as well as his daughter Dinah. The total number of persons, 33. Gad's sons, Ziphanine, Haggai, Shuni, Esbon, Eri, Arodi, and Arali. Asher's sons, Emil, Asphah, Isvi, Baranai, and their sister, Sarah. Now, kind of interesting here that they mention one of the sisters, but remember, up until this day, we have not heard any of the sisters of the brothers or the daughters other than Dinah. One of the reasons why, again, women were not that valued. So, He says, Barai's son was Heber and Malachi. These were the sons of Zilpah, whom Laban gave to his daughter Leah, that she bore to Jacob. 16 persons, the son of Jacob's wife, Rachel, Joseph, and Benjamin. Manasseh and Ephraim were born to Joseph in the land of Egypt. They were born to him by Aseneth, daughter of Potipharah, the priest of On. Benjamin's sons, Bela, Becher, Ashbel, Jerah, Naaman, Ehi, Rosh, Huppin, and Ard. These were Rachel's sons who were born to Jacob, 14 persons. Dan's sons were Hesh. Naphtali's sons, Jehuel, Guni, Jasar, and Shelim. These were the sons of Bilhah, who Laban gave to his daughter Rachel, so she bore Jacob 7 persons. The total number of the persons belonging to Jacob, his direct descendants, not including the wives of Jacob's son, who came to Egypt, 66. And Jacob, and Joseph's sons were born to him in Egypt, 2 persons. All those Jacob's household who had come to Egypt, 70 persons. Now he's including that. So we'll see this list kind of later on. And again, forgive me for butchering the pronunciations of these Hebrew names. Okay, verse 28. Now Jacob had sent Judah ahead of him to Joseph to prepare for his arrival at Goshen. When they came to the land of Goshen, Joseph hitched the horse to his chariot and went up to Goshen to meet his father Israel. Joseph presented himself to him, threw his arms around him, and wept for a long time. Then Israel said to Joseph, "At last I can die." Actually, he would die for he would live for another 17 years. He says, "At last I can die now that I've seen your face and know that you're still alive." Joseph said to his brother and to his father's household, "I will go up and inform Pharaoh, telling him, my brothers and my father's household, who were in the land of Canaan, had come to me. The men are shepherds. They also raise livestock. They have brought their sheep and cattle and all that they have. When Pharaoh addresses you and asks what is your occupations, you are to say, your servants, both we and our fathers, have raised livestock from our youth until now. Then you'll be allowed to settle in the land of Goshen, since all the shepherds are abhorrent to Egyptians. Yeah, they had their little ways about them. All right, chapter 47. So Joseph went up and informed Pharaoh, my father and my brothers with their sheep and cattle and all that they own have come from the land of Canaan and are now in the land of Goshen. He took 5 of his brothers and presented them before Pharaoh. And Pharaoh asked his brothers, what is your occupation? And they said to Pharaoh, your servants, both we and our father, the shepherds. Then they said to Pharaoh, we have come to live in the land for a while because there are no grazing land for your servants' sheep, since the famine in the land of Canaan has been severe. So now please let your servants settle in the land of Goshen. Now, they didn't really have to do that. Joseph already had the hookup for him. Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, now that your father and your brothers have come to you, the land of Egypt is open before you. Settle your father and brothers in the best part of the land. They can live in the land of Goshen. If you know any capable men among them, put them in charge of my livestock. Then Joseph, now, I'm kind of amazed. Notice how the gratitude, and notice the love that Pharaoh and Egypt is showing Joseph and his brothers, you can say the Israelites now. Right? So that's all going to change, of course. Verse 7. Joseph then brought his father Jacob and presented him before Pharaoh. And Jacob blessed Pharaoh. Then Pharaoh said to Jacob, how many years have you lived? Now, this phrase here is kind of important because the Bible tells us that the greater is blessed, the lesser is blessed by the greater. In God's eyes, Jacob was greater than Pharaoh, who was king, of course, ruler of all of Egypt. This later will be used in the book of Hebrews. It was actually used by when Abraham met Melchizedek the priest. And Melchizedek blessed him, and he says that the lesser is always blessed by the greater. Verse 9, Jacob said to Pharaoh, my pilgrimage has lasted 130 years. And my years have been few and hard, and they have not surpassed the years of my fathers during their pilgrimage. Now, another important thing here, because we don't always pay attention to it, but Jacob's use of the word pilgrimage is very important. It is very foundational to the faith. It is also foundation to our faith, in that understand that we are all pilgrims just passing through here to a greater inheritance and in promises given by God. That's very important. And this is one of the things that you see in the book of Hebrews, that chapter of Hebrews, the saints in the Old Testament, their faith, whom they did not live to see, even the coming of Jesus, but they believed. And the Bible says it was credited to them for righteousness. All right. Verse 10. So Jacob blessed Pharaoh and departed from Pharaoh's presence. Then Joseph settled his father and brothers in the land of Egypt and gave them property in the best part of the land, in the land of Ramses, as Pharaoh had commanded. And Joseph provided his father, his brothers, and all of the father's household with food for their dependents. So they did not have to work again for food, right? But this is this is something that is very, very, to me, astounding here. It is. I want to wait. I'm not gonna. Yeah, I'm not gonna get into that. But again, so this. Let me come out of here. So this settling in the Goshen, to me, is amazing. How just in one, we're going to see in just a few generations, the phrase is going to come up like this. This is the phrase that's going to come up. That another person arose in Egypt that didn't know Joseph. Now, when it said that another Pharaoh, let me see here. Oh, okay. All right. So when it says that that another Pharaoh will arise that didn't know Egypt. I mean, I didn't know Joseph. This is what it's talking about here. That the goodness that Joseph will provide, and we'll get into it in the next study, right? How Joseph saved. Now, as I told you before, God not only used Joseph to save Israel, right, his immediate family, but he used Joseph to save Egypt and then other nations. Okay? So there's going to come a time when this generation won't know that. And the term know means to be kind of experientially involved. It's not that they're not going to know history. In other words, they're going to know history because and by the time this happens, you're going to have millions of Israelites running around Egypt. So, right? So somebody's got to go, well, who are these people, right? Who are the Israelites? Where did they come from? So when it says no, the idea there is we're going to say, and by the way, you can almost say kind of an intimacy there. Notice this Pharaoh is the gratitude that give your family, Joseph, the best of the land, not the worst. But there's going to come a Pharaoh that's not going to know that, and of course enslave them. Okay, which would be just in a few generations, right? A few generations from this. And in case you don't think that can happen, just look at what's going on in our nation today. Think about the generations that's arising today. Think about what they don't know. The civil rights struggle, right? Christianity, the blessings of how the Bible has been a great influence for good. We're already in a generation who don't know that. You got people right now generations who deny the Holocaust. Okay, so that's just to me the sinful way, the sinful behavior. All right, guys, we're going to. I'll see you in the next study where we continue. We're going to see how Joseph will put it like this. We're going to see how the social programs, right? And I am being kind of coy here. The social programs of Joseph will prosper Egypt. All right. See you in the next study.